All right, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to PhotoBiz Live. This is Andy from the PhotoBiz marketing team, and today I'm going to be presenting a webinar about common website mistakes and how we can overcome them. Today, please don't forget, we will have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, just like with each of these presentations. Just a reminder, you can submit your question at any time during the webinar. If you think of a question, please submit it. If I cover it, that's fine. If I don't, you didn't forget it either. You can use the chat feature in the webinar software. If you would like, you can also join the conversation on Twitter by using the hashtag PhotoBizLive. If at any point during today's webinar you have any difficulty hearing me or seeing my slides, please use the comment box to let me know. I do tend to have a habit of talking a bit fast, so if I'm going too fast, just let me know and I'll do my best to slow down for you. Just a reminder, we are recording today's webinar and it will be available for replay on our YouTube channel, as with all of our other webinars, at youtube.com/photobiz. Okay, since I don't have any other introductions to give, let's get started today. One of the biggest mistakes that we see people make is that they forget what the purpose of a website is. Everyone knows your business needs to have a website, but it's easy to forget why we need the website. And what we want to remember is the website is your 24-hour cold sell. Your website's your business card, it's your showroom, and it's your sales pitch, all in one. So that's why we're doing today's webinar. We want to make sure we put our best foot forward, and when we're working on our website, we assume that the person viewing our website knows nothing about us, nothing about our business, and nothing about the work we do. We want to over-explain rather than under-explain, because if they've arrived at your website through a search engine, they may not know anything about you, so your website's job is to tell them about your company and about what you do. So the first thing we're going to look at are what I've classed as design mistakes. Now, some of what we're going to talk about today is purely opinion-based. You know, there are things that we know from PhotoBiz, the research we've done, the people we've talked to. Some of it comes down to just some basic marketing guidelines that most companies follow. And the thing to remember is it's okay to disagree with something here, but you should always have a reason why you disagree. You know, if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. Like I say, some of these are opinion-based, so if you don't like it, that's fine. Just make sure you have a reason why you don't like it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at are mismatched or duplicate colors. This kind of is the basics of a website. You know, what colors are you presenting to your visitors? And when they're mismatched or when they're the same color, you can lose detail, you can lose chunks of text. So, how do we fix this? Well, the way to fix your color scheme is to use a color scheme designer. I've got one listed here and we're going to take a look at it in just a second. It's colorschemedesigner.com. And what that website will do is it will help you decide the basic colors for your color scheme. If you're really familiar with PhotoBiz, you'll know that all of our templates have our expert-created color schemes. And what the designers will tell you is that we tend to use only 4 primary colors for a color scheme. So, I say in just a second, we're going to take a look at Color Scheme Designer and see how to use it to select or create color schemes. Text. This was brought up by a member of the support team to me. She pointed this out to me. When it's always very important to look at the text on your website, not in your control panel, on the actual live site. If your text color is the same as the background on that page, you've lost that text. Now, from an SEO perspective, you run the risk of being penalized for hidden text, because that's an old black hat technique, is to put a lot of text on the page and make it the exact same color as the background. From a more practical standpoint, when your text and the background are the same color, it looks like you've forgotten to set up that page. And that's going to take a chunk out of your credibility with your visitors, because you've got a page on your website that appears to be blank. Now, some people are going to know to highlight the page to see if there's text there, but why take the risk that your visitors are going to know to do that or want to take the time to do that? So We're going to pop over here to Firefox, and this is Color Scheme Designer. I'm going to kick this open, make sure everybody can see me. Okay, so this is a free website, and what we're going to look at here is the basics that make it up. Here in our top left, we have the types of colors we want to use. Now, here at PhotoBiz, we use 4 colors. We don't often use this option, the accented analogic. We tend to use a tetrad. Now, you can see all of these options and their names. It doesn't necessarily matter if you know what the name is and what it applies to, because this site's really fun to work with. So let's start with a triad. Now down here we have a dark circle and 2 light circles, and all of these we can click on them and drag them around our color wheel to find various colors. Now, because these are preset triads, tetrads, what they do is as I move my primary color, which is this area here at the top, the other 4 colors are moved to match this. Now, okay, so we have a color scheme here. We're purples for our mains, and we're using greens and yellows for our highlights. Well, how do you actually use this? Well, what we do is each of these color squares we mouse over will provide us with the hex code. Now, if you've gone into your color schemes on your PhotoBiz control panel, you'll know that you can type these directly into areas, and it will set that color for you. So that's why I absolutely love this site. You just drag it to the color you want it, and then you mouse over, get your hex codes, and you're done. Now what we have here is it will show you what text looks like. So by going to this corner here, if I want to use this dark purple as my main color, I can visually see that I need to go with very light text, otherwise my text and my background are going to blend together. Whereas if I want to use this green right here, light text is going to be invisible. Next, we can look at page examples. And this is one of my favorite things about this website, because it takes a fake website and shows you how you would use each of those colors in that color scheme on the page. You'll also notice that you can click inside the page to swap secondary colors. Okay, we're going to stop there because I can spend all day in that website if I'm not careful. So like I say, that website, colorschemedesigner.com, can make creating a new color scheme very easy, because you're going to know what colors are going to complement other colors, and we're going to make sure that we're using the right color text to go along with our background. Okay, next thing we're going to look at, this kind of ties into your color scheme, but it's a bit different, is the background you use on the website. Now, one of the worst things we can do is have a background that is either too busy, or it looks like we just threw something up there with no real concern. Now, when it's a distracting background, the visitors find their eyes drawn away from the main subject matter of the site, and they spend so much time looking at the background. They're trying to figure out what your design is, or if you use text, they're going to try and read what's there. The other end of the spectrum is using something like clip art, where you've taken something that's very small and maybe you've scaled it up so it's pixelated out. Clip art are things we want to avoid. If you can see on these slides, you'll notice all of my slides have a background on them, but it's a background that's there. If I point it out to you, you will see the additional circles, but at first glance, you're not going to see it because it's there to provide a little bit of texture to break up the monotony, but I don't want you focusing on it. So what do we do? Well, we've got 3 options here. You can use a solid color background. There's nothing wrong with that. Just go back one step, make sure the color scheme accents your work. Another option is to tile a simple pattern. You'll notice that in your PhotoBiz control panel, we provide tile options for you. But the big thing we want to do, we want to avoid clip art, and we want to avoid high contrast colors. We want to complement the work and complement the site. We don't want to have a lot of contrast because it hurts your eyes. This is something that's going to apply more to photographers generally than to other small businesses that use our sites, but it's making sure your images are properly formatted. Now, this can be when you upload them, or this can be some of the settings in your website. Obviously, on the upload, you want to make sure that they're rectangular or portrait. Squares work too, but you want to try and keep a common theme. You don't want to be bouncing between landscapes and portraits one after another, because it's distracting to the viewer, because their eyes are, first they're scanning a large left to right image, then they're having to go vertical and then back and forth. We want to do natural progressions and or do chains. So maybe you have 3 landscapes and then 2 portraits and then 2 more landscapes. Or you start with portraits, then you move to squares, then you move to landscapes. We want the eye to naturally follow the images we use. The only way to know if this is working or not is to open up your website and go through your galleries. If your images are being cropped, you know that there's more to that image than is displaying on your screen. Check your settings. Most templates will have an option that will either show all or scale to fit. Some will have the option to stretch versus scale. Check your options. If scale's not working, if it's cropping, use the other option, be that stretch or be show all. Or maybe you need to choose another template. Many times I've had people where they see the sample images on a template and they absolutely love the way that template looks. But when your work goes in that template, it may not work the same way. You know, when we design our templates, we go through them, we make sure that the subject, the focus of the image is fitting with the template we put it in. Now that's occasionally does require some cropping and some resizing on our part, but that's the thing we do. We go through, we check the galleries. I wanted to make an example of this, but I ran out of time today, so I'm very sorry. It's illegible text. If you know typography, you'll know that there's a difference between a display font and a copy font. And one of the big mistakes we see people doing is they use a display font instead of the copy font. Now, display fonts are going to be, they're generally your script fonts, things that look like handwriting, especially those that look like cursive. There are other fonts that kind of fall in here. Wingdings is one that pops to mind. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word, you know that wingdings is random symbols in place of letters. You'd never use that on a website, but it is a display font. It's more for the look of the font than necessarily how legible that font is. So, save script fonts for your headers and your logos. You don't want sentences that look like handwriting, because it tends to be more illegible than you think it is. It's okay to love the Libby script font, but don't use it on your information pages. People cannot read it. It takes much longer to try and figure out what that word means if it's in, especially if it's in a very heavy script font. When you're conveying information through your website, you want to be clear and concise. Information should be a serif or a sans serif. The difference between a serif and a sans serif is whether or not it has the tails. The font I'm using here is a sans serif. You can tell because my I's, my L's, they don't have tails on them. But either way works. That really is a choice for what fits your style. Do you like Times New Roman? Do you like Courier? Do you like Arial? But you want to use these standard fonts because they convey your information easily. Now with PhotoBiz, you have general settings for these. It's really easy. If you're using a script font, go in there, find a serif or a sans serif that fits with your style, but your visitors will appreciate it. They're able to read your information, they're able to understand it, and they're more likely to stay on your website if they can read it, because when you're online, people don't want to spend a large amount of time trying to translate the script on your website. They want to find the information they came for, and they want to leave. Okay, this one kind of flies under the radar, especially when you're getting started. You know, your new business, new website, Maybe you don't have everything set up. You don't have a logo. A lack of branding can kill a website because there's nothing that makes you stand out. All right, so the solution is use even a very basic logo and carry it online and off. So your logo on your website should match the logo that's on your business card, or if you do flyers. Anywhere else you make advertisement or print material, it should match the logo on your website. By matching your online and your offline work, especially the way your site or your company looks, you're establishing that brand. If I show you a picture of script font in white on a red background, most people are immediately going to associate that with Coca-Cola because that is Coke's brand. You'll notice that all of my webinar slides have the PhotoBiz name and the PhotoBiz P, and even the bottom of my slides matches the colors that we as a company use. That's because when you watch our webinars, we don't assume that you're our customer. We want you to know that PhotoBiz, the company, is what is presenting these webinars. Now, like I say, you'll notice that we go with something very simple. It's our P, and that's a P you'll find stylized all over our website, and our business name, again, in a very simple font. So what if you don't have the time or the inclination to design a logo for yourself? Well, that is our next site we're going to take a look at, and that is Fiverr. Now, if you look at the URL, you'll notice it's fiverr.com. If you forget the second R, you're going to find a completely different website. I'm not sure what's there, and I'm not inclined to check. The reason this site is called Fiverr is everything starts at $5. Now, you'll notice we have a bunch of options here. We've got advertising, video, and animation. What we're looking at today specifically is graphic and design. And you'll notice that we have a logo design section on this website. Okay, so once we're here, you'll find designers offering a certain type of option here, but they don't, everything starts at $5. How much you're going to spend depends on how much work you need and whose work you like. But the reason I would use a website like Fiverr is that you have protections when using this. Both purchasers and contributors to this website abide by a set of rules. So you're going to get your work in a certain amount of time, and if you don't, you have a recourse here. Better than Craigslist because someone is moderating what's happening. Okay, I see I've got a hand up here, but because you didn't ask a question, I'm not sure what's going on. So if you wouldn't mind typing out your question, or if I'm going too fast, just so I kind of know what's going on. Okay, so we looked at Fiverr. So next. All right, this one is, I've listed it in design, but this one could also be called technical, which is what we're going to look at in a minute. But not having no mobile visibility or having a poor mobile design. Now, if you've got our HTML5 portfolio sites or our content sites, this is not a concern. We took care of this for you. It's HTML5. You're already covered. If, on the other hand, you're using our Flash HTML and or our mobile mirror options, be sure that you have checked your website on a phone. We see a lot of times a customer will have a beautiful Flash website, and they picked up the HTML and the mobile because they knew they needed that coverage, but they never actually looked at what that template looks like. Now, it doesn't hurt to check your website if you've got an HTML5 portfolio or content site. Get your phone out. If you don't have a smartphone, find a friend who has a smartphone. If you don't have any friends with smartphones, there are smartphone emulators online. Would Google view my website on a smartphone? Somebody has an app out there. I know they do. Just don't know off the top of my head. So, obviously, if you don't have mobile visibility, if you take out a smartphone, go to your website, and it gives you an error message, gives you a blank page, you need to get either the mobile mirror or upgrade to HTML5. Our support team's more than happy to help you with that. They can describe your options, go over cost, what it's going to take. Give them a call, send them an email. It's what they're there for. Okay, the way to fix poor design is take a look at your website on your phone. You want to make sure that your main website, what someone, especially you, sees on your desktop, matches what they see on their mobile phone. Now, this actually goes back to the point we were just looking at of branding. We want to make sure that when somebody, if they find your website on their phone and they decide to save it to look at when they get home, we want to make sure that they feel like they're at the same website and dealing with the same company. This is one of those things that it's really hard to quantify in numbers, but from marketing studies, we know that when what I see on my phone doesn't match what I see on my computer, I lose confidence in that company, both their ability to work online, and I have to wonder, did I get redirected at some point to a completely different website? Because those things do happen online. So consumers, they're going to vary. You're going to have extremely tech savvy that understand what happened here, and then you're going to have people who are very reactionary, and when it doesn't look the same, they're going to leave because it looks like they've gone somewhere else. Okay, next we're going to look at technical issues. Usually technical mistakes are things that are digging a hole for you that you may not have even known you were digging. Okay, this one to me is one of the biggest problems I see in my day-to-day work doing the SEO services here for PhotoBiz. And it's a lack of a social media profile. You need to have a social media profile, and it needs to be linked to on your website. That is full stop, end of story. These are not optional anymore. Now, the solution: create a Facebook profile. It's a Facebook business page and a Google Plus profile. You're specifically looking for a Google Plus local business page. Now, for both of these websites, you have to have a personal profile. If you've never set up a Facebook profile, do it today. As soon as the webinar is over, facebook.com, create the profile. Even if you never send a friend request, never play a Facebook game, never make a status update, create a personal profile so you can create a business page. Facebook has become one of those sites that it's ingrained into people's consciousness. If you don't have a Facebook page, it's hard for people to take you seriously as a business. Google Plus. Google Plus, you may have heard of it, you're maybe aware of it, but not sure what it is. I'll be honest with you, at this point, it's mostly techies. It's mostly people in tech industries who are already very familiar with the way the internet works, sharing things with each other. But Google is doing their best to force people into creating a Google Plus account. And they're very good at that. They own YouTube. If you want to upload a video to YouTube, if you want to make a comment, you have to have a Google Plus page. If you've ever created a Gmail account, you have a Google Plus profile. Just like Facebook, though, you have to have a personal profile to manage your business page. And that Google Plus local business page is what has taken the place of Google Places. In both cases, you need to set up your profile. Facebook gives you an about section where you can talk about your company. It lets you list your website. It lets you list your address. In Google Plus, it's even more important. Fill out your hours. Fill out your contact information. For photographers especially, upload images. When you can, get people to leave reviews on your Google Plus page. This is becoming more and more crucial because the information on your Google Plus page is carried over to search results. Someone can see if you're open today when your website shows up in a Google search result. They can call you from that Google search result if you've given them a phone number to use. So these are not optional. Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, I can make cases for or against those. I cannot make a case against either Facebook or Google Plus. They are crucial. Okay, question here about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good social media network to be a part of. You can find actual business leads on LinkedIn, you can connect with other companies on LinkedIn. Now, the other crucial thing here is making sure that your profiles and your website are linked together. Google generally understands when a Google Plus or Facebook page is associated with a business, but it's easier to not even risk it by creating those links. Link to your website. List your website, please. Use with PhotoBiz, you're going to have two options as to how to link to your social media profiles. You can use an external link, which would just say Facebook. Find us on Facebook. Connect with us on Facebook. Same thing with Google+. Now, I'm not a huge fan of those because they take up a lot of menu space. The other option are social media icons. Now, where these display is going to depend on your template. They're always just outside of the frame. So they're either lower left, lower right, upper right, just under your logo. They're somewhere where they're always going to be visible. And with PhotoBiz, we've got a bank of all the major social media networks. You can use the Facebook F. It's already there for you. Some people like to do custom social media icons. That's fine. We let you upload those. Put your own stamp on it. Just remember, you want to use an F for Facebook. You want to use a capital G, or sorry, a lowercase f for Facebook. You want to use a capital G with a plus symbol for Google+. Twitter, you can use a T or the bird. LinkedIn is a lowercase I and a lowercase n. So if you're not sure, Google social media name plus icon, and you'll get a bunch of results for those. Okay, but again, let me just reiterate one more time. Facebook business page, Google+ local business page, not optional. You also want to make sure you post at least once per week to these pages. It can be something as simple as listing what you've got booked this week, or something interesting that happened in your area. Doesn't necessarily have to be related to your business, but we want to see posts. We want to see them happening with regularity. When you get to a page and the page hasn't been updated for 6 months, the immediate thought is this company still open? Okay, this is a really minor one, but we see it a lot. Out-of-date copyright notice. If I go to your website and it says copyright 2009, I have to wonder, have you not updated your website since 2009? Have you been using the same website for 5 years now? So, it's a really minor thing. If you list your copyright on your website every January, go to the location, footer text. If you put it on a page, go there. Kick the number up one. Your website, if it says copyright and a date, it should now say 2014 because it's 2014. Every January, update your copyright. Put a reminder on your calendar. Have a New Year's party. Oh, it's the New Year. Update your copyright. Again, this kind of goes back to the exact same thing where we're talking about your social media profiles. If your copyright is well out of date, then we really have to wonder if you're still in business. And you never want a potential customer to ask the question, am I in business? You want them to know you're still in business. Okay, this one's a bit more subjective, and you've got some leeway here, but we want to avoid disorganized or confusing menus. Your visitors have a very low tolerance for not being able to find what they want. Google actually has a very low tolerance for this as well. One of the metrics that your site is ranked on is ease of use. And if you can't find the information you're looking for, generally within 2 to 3 clicks, you're done with that website. And we don't want that. So how do we fix it? We organize the pages in the site by topic or type. So this is where you have a bit of leeway. For example, let's say you're a photographer and you shoot weddings, but you also shoot portrait sessions. Now, there are 2 easy ways to organize this. You can use the standard setup a PhotoBiz website comes with. You have an information drop-down menu, and under that drop-down menu you have engagement information, wedding information, portrait information. And then you have a galleries drop-down menu. where you start with engagement gallery, wedding gallery, family portraits, children's portraits. Organize. If I want information, I click on information. If I want to see pictures, I click on galleries. The other option is to have a weddings drop-down menu where you would list your engagement information, your wedding information, your engagement galleries, your wedding galleries. And then we have our portraits drop-down menu with the same thing, portrait information, family portraits, children's portrait gallery. Either way works. It's really about how much separation you want. Now, I've become more of a fan of giving each type of photography or each type of service you do its own drop-down menu, simply because if somebody's interested in a wedding, they don't care about seeing your portraits, and vice versa in most cases. Pro tip here, drop-down menus are your friend. Don't be afraid to use them. They save menu space. You always want to look at having a nice, concise menu where everything is under what it's labeled for. And you can add as many as you need. Okay, this is one I see a lot, as you would expect, as the SEO guy here. Little or no meta information. Okay, every page that contains content on your website, you can and should have meta information. This is your meta title, your meta description, and your meta keywords. The solution to this is, well, very simple. Put some meta information on every page that will allow you to. Even a little bit of meta information far outstrips not having anything there. And the reason it's better to have even 2 words over nothing is that when you don't apply meta information to your pages, especially your galleries, Google does not know that those pages are different from one another. A Google crawler can see an image in that it recognizes an image code and a JPEG reference. That bot can't make a qualitative decision about that image. It doesn't know the difference between the best wedding picture ever and the picture of my messy floor that I snapped with my phone. All it knows is that they're both JPEGs. So by giving that meta information to the crawlers, they can differentiate. This page is a gallery of wedding photos. This page is information about the price of wedding coverage. It gives your site another level of depth in terms of what Google sees. And those are the sites Google wants to show, are sites that are appropriate and have a depth of content. Okay, we're going to move on to general. Some of these could have been design, they could have been technical. I really couldn't decide, so we're just going to call this our grab bag. All right, first thing in the grab bag, no contact information on your website. Your contact form that comes with your website is not enough. Visitors can be hesitant to fill out a contact form. We've all had that experience where you filled out a contact form for some reason, and 2 days later your inbox is now getting hit every day with a message from this website that you really don't care about. People are more hesitant to use a contact form because they've been abused in the past. So again, like the meta information, it's a very simple solution. Put some contact information. You want to have a phone number and an email address they can use. Like I say, not everybody wants to use your contact form. By supplying them with an email address, they can take the initiative to send you an email. Put your phone number on there. The more avenues available to your visitor to contact you, the more contacts you will receive. It's numbers. It's accuracy through volume. Another big one we see, not listing your business hours or the expected response time. These, again, very minor things that are very easy to overlook, and I see it so often, it hurts. Just let them know when they can contact you, or if they send you an email, how long should they wait for a reply? In most cases, you'll just want to say, you can call us Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 6 p.m., whatever your availability is. You also want to include a line that tells them, if you send us if you use the contact form or email us directly, we will respond to you within 24, 48, 36 hours, within a business day. Something so that I know if I email you and I haven't heard back from you within a day, you may not have gotten my email because you should have replied by now. Again, we're just establishing a little bit more confidence in our consumer here. Doesn't have to be a lot. It can be. It's okay to say we love talking to you on the phone, but if you prefer email, we will do our best to respond within 24 hours. You can dress it up. You can simply say we're available at this phone number Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Emails will be answered within 24 hours. A lot of what I'm saying today is something is better than nothing. This one I've debated. What it comes down to is if you don't have any pricing information on your website, your visitor has no way of knowing if you're in their budget or not. So this is the one where a lot of it comes down to opinion and what you want to do for your company. I recommend now provide starting price points for each type of service you offer. I don't want you to go out there and put every single possible price or cost. Generally, to an actual customer, it's more information than they need off the top. If I'm looking to book a wedding, I'm not necessarily concerned at how much the 5x7s cost. I want to know how much it's going to cost me to have you at my wedding for 8 hours. Same thing with a portrait session. Okay, does my session start at $100, and does that $100 include prints? Yes, no. There's not a right answer to your pricing, but if you don't let the visitor know where they're starting, if a price isn't listed, it tends to be either incredibly cheap or incredibly expensive. That's the assumption most people make. So you can scare away clients where you are in their budget range. Or, as I've also seen, you can have people calling you, taking up 30 minutes to an hour discussing their wedding, and when it comes down to price, you're thinking $2,500 to get out of bed, and they were looking to spend about $500 for an 8-hour wedding coverage. Obviously, they're not going to match. So give a price point. That way you're not giving away everything. You're not overloading them with information. Your competitor can't easily look at your prices and undercut you by 10%. Give them just enough so that they can say, okay, this is my price range, or no, this isn't my price range. It's going to get you the best thing available. All right, just real quick, I had a question here from Carmen who missed the opening, so I just want to let you know, Carmen, that yes, you will be available. This won't be available for download, but it will be on our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of the week. Okay, who are you? There's not enough information about your business. When I go to see about your business, you know, if you're married with 2 dogs, that's great. That's a great way to open. That should not be all. I want to know that you're a natural light portrait photographer, that you're an on-location photographer, that you have a studio I can come to. I want to know that you specialize in newborns. You're available for family portraits, but what you really do is newborns or seniors or families. So what do? We give a description of each type of service you offer. Now, a question from Ryan kind of ties into this. He wants to know if we have a separate drop-down for pricing or pricing information in each specialization. Now, I would actually go with one of 2 options. Again, either an information drop-down menu where your about, your service descriptions, and your pricing is all in one area, or split it up by specialization and include pricing. So wedding pricing with the wedding galleries and the wedding information, portrait pricing with the galleries and with the portrait information. So keep all of your pricing in one area, or give each section its own pricing page. Okay, now it's okay to use more information pages. We want to, again, especially if you do different types of photography that don't have a lot of crossover, you know, newborns and seniors. Well, Hopefully you're still in business 16 years down the line when that newborn you photograph needs his senior portraits done, but we're not going to bank on that. So if everything is very similar, you can keep it all together. If there's a fair amount of difference in the markets, give them their own space. Give people the information they want. Okay, the flip side of this coin is putting too much information on one page. Now, as an SEO, I have a saying that several of you in the audience have heard me say before: you will never have too much information or too much text on your website for me. Now, that's from a SEO perspective. It's not necessarily from a marketing perspective. So we don't want to overload people. Now, we tend to have things like lists where you start listing every available option. That's going to cause people's eyes to glaze over. People online, and apparently I decided to change that slide mid-process and forgot. One of the big things I want to point out is galleries. Okay, so when we look at a page that has text on it, we want to provide enough information to answer general questions. The goal is to answer the things the questions that every customer asks you on your website. And we only want to answer the general questions so that we can get that person to call us, to email us with the specific questions and close out the sale. Okay, again, photographer specific image galleries. You really should only have 10 to 20 images per gallery. Your visitors have a limited attention span, and people only want to look at photos of other couples for so long before they're tired, they've made their decision. The other advantage of smaller galleries is you can update your site more frequently. If your wedding portfolio is 15 images, your 15 best ceremony shots, you can update that by shuffling the order or by dropping 5 and adding 5. And that change is going to be visible to somebody who comes back to the website because there's only 15 images. So if a third of that changes, well, that's something that is going to catch your eye. If your gallery has 60 images in it and you change 5 of them, odds are I'm never going to see that as a visitor because I never made it past image number 13. I saw what I had come to see and I was done. This one, again, is something I debate with a lot, and it's music on your website. The reason I debate this is I've had photographers make great cases for the music on the website. I know photographers who have closed sales specifically because of the music they used on their website. But I also know that I've opened up websites that had music on them and immediately closed that website because either it was too loud, I didn't like the music, or I was doing something I should not have been doing. As wedding photographers know, a lot of brides often search at work for things related to their wedding. And if she works in an office where she's not supposed to be viewing outside websites, that music's going to give her away, and that's a lost sale. So the solution is don't use music. Don't. Just don't. You love that song. I hate that song. You've just lost my business because of that song choice. But there's the caveat here of unless it works for you. To use Sherry Steinberg and Headley Jones, their Boudoir Cafe site. I worked with Headley a lot to get music on that site, music that Headley liked, and it fits because that was their design goal. One of the things when we started creating that website, Headley told me he wanted it to sound like a cafe. So we use music on that website, and it works for that website. So this is one of those where think really hard about the music you use on your website. Are you using it because it adds something to the site? Are you using it just because you felt like you needed it? Or did you just kind of put it up there? If it wasn't part of the plan, if it was something that just kind of happened, probably shouldn't be using it. It's just too variable. Okay, the title of this slide is literally my favorite sentence in the English language. You'll notice it says buffalo 8 times. That is a valid sentence in English. Makes absolutely no sense unless you see it broken down, but it's a valid sentence. What am I on about now? Spelling, grammar, and homophone mistakes. Most people know what spelling and grammar are. Homophones are words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have completely different meanings. So, what's the solution here? Okay, run a spelling and grammar checker on every bit of text in your website. Make sure you look like you know what you're doing. It doesn't take very long. Microsoft Word does it. Notepad++ does it. Going to look at OpenOffice and LibreOffice, free word processors. Just make sure that your spelling's correct. Make sure that your grammar is correct. One thing that will immediately kill people's desire to work with you is obviously poor spelling on your website. If you can't be bothered to make sure that you know what you're saying, I'm not sure I can trust you as a business owner. You know, I have to question the quality of work I'm going to get from you. This other one can get a little bit harder. Make sure you're using the correct word. My two examples here: bear, you know, big furry animal, you know, maybe Yogi and Boo Boo, versus bear, as in I have no clothes on, I am bare naked. Sound the same. Both of those pass spell check, but they mean two completely different things. The other one, affect versus effect. Now I'm hitting that opening vowel very hard so we can obviously tell what I'm talking about. For the most part, people pronounce that effect. You know, they go somewhere between the A and the E, no matter which of the words they're using. Now, with those two words specifically, the easy way to figure out whether or not you should use the A or the E is to replace it with the word change. Change is a verb. If you replace affect, effect with change and the sentence makes sense, use affect. Affect is a verb. If the sentence does not make sense with the word change in that place, you should be using effect, which is the noun version. That's the easy way I found to differentiate those two. Stick a verb in their place. Or if you're still not sure, use a different word. Synonyms are wonderful. Online thesauruses are free. Don't be afraid. Okay, now you want to run a spelling checker. You want to run a grammar check, but you don't want to spend the money for Microsoft Office, or your computer didn't come with it. Two great options here. These started as the same product and then they split. Okay, the first one is going to be Apache OpenOffice. Now, it's called OpenOffice as opposed to Microsoft Office because this is an open-sourced software. You can download it. You can learn about it. It fulfills the same options or the same duties as the Microsoft Office suite. That's your spreadsheets, you know, Excel, word processing, Word, presentations, PowerPoint, which I'm using today. OpenOffice provides an option for all of these. And again, it's free. Now, between these two, I prefer OpenOffice, but not everyone does. Some people prefer LibreOffice. Again, like I say, originally OpenOffice and LibreOffice were one group under OpenOffice, but because it's open sourced, a group of developers had one idea and that became the current OpenOffice. Another group of developers had a different way they wanted to take it. That became LibreOffice. Either way, they're free. You can download them. You can use them. They're going to do what the Microsoft Office suite does for you. Okay, in case anybody didn't or can't see the URL, LibreOffice.org, that's L-I-B-R-E office.org, or openoffice.org. Again, these are both open sourced websites, so they are organizations. That's why they end with a .org instead of a .com. If you notice in my search bar, I just typed in LibreOffice to Google, and that's how I pulled up their website. do the same with open. It's going to be your top result there because that's what those are. Okay, now here's something we mentioned in a few webinars, but we tend to, but doesn't get, let's just remind you. If you don't have Photoshop, or let's say you've got Elements and it's just not doing it for you, GIMP, the new image manipulation processor. It's GIMP.org, and I'm waiting for it to load, and here we go. Here we see GIMP 2.8 is the current program. Like OpenOffice, like LibreOffice, this is open sourced software. Now, open source doesn't mean it's amateur, it just means that it's free, and when people want to make updates, they do it as a group. Okay, like I say, this is an image manipulator. It serves the same purpose as Photoshop or Lightroom. Not going to be as easy as either one of those, but it is useful if you need a free image manipulator, especially if you want to create your own logo by doing some simple script, or you want to make a background by tiling a simple pattern. If you don't have Photoshop or Lightroom and don't want to spend the money, download GIMP. It will work for you. Now, as my slide will show you, we are at the Q&A section. So, let's see, I think we got most of the questions during the course, so give me just a moment. Let me take a look. Okay, I've got a question here from John. He says, why would my mobile site information not match my main site? There is info listed on services that is not on my main page, and it's old info. Okay, if you are using the Flash HTML and mobile, you want to click on your publish icon. You want to make sure all three boxes are checked, and you want to publish it again. That should be the only reason why you would have differing information between the various versions of your site if you published on one thing and did not publish on the other. All right. Les, thank you for your comment. He didn't have a question, but he wanted to thank me. So, okay. Request from Kelly to review meta tags again. Okay. Well, the easiest way to do this is actually, we're just going to take a look at my demo account. Okay, I'll let you guys know that I have not worked in here in a fairly long time, so it's going to be a bit of a mess. As you can see, since I work here, I have all of my options. So first thing we're going to do, I know not everybody's caught up with me, so I'll give you just a second to get there. Okay, most of us are here. Now, I am inside my HTML5 control panel. Now, this is a portfolio site. The portfolio sites do not have the auto SEO that the content sites do. You should always review it, even with the auto. Please check it. Okay, website title. This is what shows up in a search result. Website description. This is that 2 to 3 sentences that show up right below your search result. Meta keywords or website keywords. These are the basic things that apply to your website. You'll see the example is for a Los Angeles wedding photographer. So we have the business name, Jenny Jones Wedding Photography. We have Los Angeles Wedding Photography. We have Los Angeles Wedding Portraits. The work we do, and a minor variant because some people search for photography, some search for portraits. Most people are familiar with this. Most people have put information here. Where I see the problems are under this web pages. Now you'll notice this page 1 is a gallery. I have an SEO button here. Okay, this is actually a test I was running, so I haven't filled these out. This is also my demo. This page title, and I realize I'm pointing at my screen and no one can see me. Okay, page title needs to be different, needs to describe what is going on this page. So let's say this is my home page. Yeah, we can do home. Home is fine. That's the few pages we'll have a home page. We'll say, welcome to Andy R's photography studio. Okay, I have a page title and a description. Okay, we have another gallery here. We're, again, for an example, we're going to say this is our, let's do engagement portrait gallery. Meta description, a collection of my favorite engagement sessions. And obviously I would use some meta keywords based on where I was and what my target market was. But by doing this right here, I have now told Google that the images on this page are engagement portraits, that they're my favorite engagement portraits. And then we go through every page of the website and do this. Like I say, it doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever. Having a little bit is going to be better than nothing. Okay, now I'm in my content site. In case you have this, you'll notice you have SEO here. With the content site, you have the option for auto SEO or custom. Now, if you look at what I've got here, it took what I put on this page and moved it to my SEO information. Obviously, that's not what I want because I have image links in my description, and that's not what I want to see. So to fix this, I would kick it over to custom and change that. Okay, and let's, again, this is going to apply to if you have the e-commerce or the blog. If you're still on the Flash HTML, you have search engines here instead of metas. And if we go to details, we have search engine optimization. Same purpose as what we looked at before, just has a slightly different name. All right, any more questions? Feel free, any topics. Some people have some hands up. I'm not sure if you guys have clicked the raise hand button accidentally or if you do have a question. Heidi and Ryan, I'm looking at you specifically. Okay, great question from Jake. Can and should we add video testimonials? Yes, I have no problem with you using video testimonials. You want to give a description and make sure that you're explaining what's going on, what services they got from you if they don't tell you. But yeah, go ahead. PhotoBiz uses them. People like to see video testimonials. It gives them confidence. All right, guys, we ran a little bit over, but I will say going once. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so Ryan had asked his question, and Heidi clicked the button accidentally. That's fine. I've done it myself. It does happen. Okay, question from Stephanie. She wants to know, she's thinking about the HTML5. I can't guarantee that all of the bugs have been worked out. That's one of the things that goes along with working online. Bugs show up. They happen. Quick point of fact, the reason we call them bugs is because the first bugs were moths that got into computers. And that's kind of how random it happens. Sometimes something breaks, and sometimes it breaks and we don't necessarily know why because it's an update that changed something we didn't account for. Do they work? Most assuredly they work. How much it costs is going to depend on what you have, whether you're signing up new, whether you do a trade-in. You're going to have to call support on that one. Sorry, I don't have an answer off the top of my head. But I would say HTML5 is definitely worth it when we look at moving forward. Adobe is still going to support Flash, but they're not supporting mobile Flash. HTML5 is the new internet standard. So anything that's internet standard, we do kind of want to keep up with the times here. Okay, Cynthia's asked about the meta description I typed up quickly. Okay, first things first, that was kind of an off the top of my head thing. That's not what I would encourage you to do. Cynthia says she's using her 3 work terms, her 3 target terms. You do want to use your target terms in your descriptions. Like I say, that one, for what I just showed, the only terms that I hit there that are going to show up as exact matches are engagement. I say that was kind of an off the top of my head example. You want to make sure that when we talk about targeting SEO keywords, there are going to be 3 to 4 words like engagement, portrait, studio. And we want to make sure those words show up in our titles and our descriptions so that when someone is searching for those terms, they're going to be highlighted in the search result. Okay, Billy asked, they put the Facebook icon using their control panel. Most often cause when you've set it up in the control panel and it's not on the live site is that you haven't published. In-house, we call it the publish pirate because it's really easy to forget to click that publish icon like I'm doing now. If you've got the Flash HTML in mobile, all three of them should be checked. If you use, on the other hand, our portfolio site, all we have to do is click this publish here. We've only got the one option. Okay, Carmen, sorry if you heard me muttering there. Carmen, I did not cover this earlier, so it's a great question. Carmen lives in an area with sketchy internet, and she has clients that view their site on tablets and phones a lot. HTML5 is what you should be using. Now, that's our portfolio sites or our content sites. They're both equally effective. They're both just as visible on tablets and phones. What it really comes down to is, which do you prefer? Cynthia, there's not a way to individually tag SEO images, and the reason behind that is, with your PhotoBiz site, your images are all protected, and that includes protection from being indexed in a Google image search, because that is the easiest way to take images off of a website, is to pull them up in a Google image search. That's why we let you and strongly recommend filling out those meta information areas on every gallery. Okay. Renata asks, she has one of our old HTML or HTML4 websites, and she can't see all of the content on her mobile phone. Yes, you should upgrade to an HTML5. That's going to be the difference between HTML4 and HTML5, is HTML5 is responsive to the screen viewing it. That's how we can let you scale your website using HTML5, whereas if you used one of our old HTMLs, it was always the same size. When you pulled it up on a large monitor, you had a small gallery in the middle with a lot of negative space. HTML5 lets us scale using our code. How do you know, okay, question from Kelly, how do you know which type or version of site, I'm assuming which type or version of site you currently use? Easiest way is to click this home button. And what you want to look at is, which icon do you see? If you see the blue circle with the 2 arrows, you're using our Flash HTML. If you see the red circle with the 5, you're using our HTML5 portfolio site. If you see the B, which is the PhotoBiz P inverted and in different colors, you're using a content site. Okay, Cynthia again asks if her images can be pinned into someone's Pinterest. Yes and no. They can't be pinned directly from your website. They can be screenshotted and pinned. Generally, especially if you're interested in Pinterest, I recommend creating boards for your company and putting your best images on those boards to be repinned, rather than hoping they pin from your website. Okay. We're going to cut it there today, everyone. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for joining me. In case you aren't sure, I'm Andy R., Andrew R. at photobiz.com. If you have further questions, don't be afraid to email me. Worst thing I'll ever have to do is have support answer your questions. Okay, just as a reminder for anybody who joined us late, a recording of today's webinar will be on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/photobiz. Be sure to check out our blog and watch your email for updates about future webinars. The next webinar we're going to be having is Strategies for the Senior Market with Rob Evans, and that's going to be next Tuesday, January 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. All right, everyone, that concludes today's episode of PhotoBiz Live. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.